So I made a list of the 11 signs of a narcissist, and I'm hoping that this is going to help people when they start dating and to see some of these red flags come up and be able to identify them before it becomes problematic, right? Thanks, girl. Thanks for the thumbs up, skis. So when it comes to narcissistic men, the problem with narcissistic men is that it's very insidious and hard to detect in the beginning. So the best way and the only way to really identify a true narcissist is through time and observation. That's it. So this whole concept of, it's easy, sorry, I'm getting notifications. It's easy to identify narcissists in the beginning. It is absolutely not. It's very, very difficult, and I'm going to explain why as we go through this list. But I'm telling you, time and observation, those are the best two pieces the best two ways to identify a narcissist, okay? So that's why when I say it's a good thing to date multiple people and to take your time to get to know people before making a decision on whether or not you want to be exclusive, this is the reason why. Time gives you time to really get to know them and see them outside of this like little bubble that you've created, this bubble of love that you created, and observing their behaviors, right? Does it make sense so far? So that's the reason why I really suggest slowing down the process of dating and giving yourself that space to get to know people's personalities before you jump into an exclusive relationship. Because typically what happens, especially with women, is that once you jump into an exclusive relationship, you emotionally get far more attached. And then once the love starts kicking in, and then the red flags happen after the love kicks in, it's incredibly difficult for you to break that off. Does that make sense? Give me some thumbs up, Ski, if that's making sense. So do yourself a favor and give yourself that time and space so that you can observe their true personality before making a decision about them. Hello to whoever's watching. I can see there's more people joining us. So now let's identify the two, thanks girl, the two main types of narcissists. And I'm going to explain why to me and in my experience, it hasn't really made a difference. Okay. There's covert and there's overt. So overt tends to be it's kind of like extrovert and introvert. That is kind of the best way that I describe these types of narcissists. There's one that's very flamboyant, very much grandiose, wants a lot of attention. Hey Renzi, so nice to see you. They want a lot of like attention, they seek attention, they seek to be like glorified and treated like a god and like martyr. They're over the top, okay? And covert are a little bit more insidious because they're harder to detect because they're a little bit more subtle. So they're not as grandiose, they don't make big declarations of love. They might be a little bit less grandiose in their behaviors. So the main difference for me is how difficult they are to detect. So covert tends to be even more difficult because again, they seem to be more normal in the beginning and then the true colors show. So again, time and observation. Give yourself time to get to know people and observe how they are within your relationship with you, how they are in public, how they deal with situations, how they deal with family members, friends, what kind of comments they make, how they describe themselves and their relationships, all of that fun stuff, because that's going to be telling. Making sense so far, guys? Give me a thumbs up. So ultimately, they both lack empathy. And that's one of the biggest characteristic is just lacking empathy for people, right? It seems like they are heartless and without emotion, especially when shit hits the fan or when you're showing emotions and feelings, it can feel very cold. And typically this happens when there's a conflict between you. So if you're feeling really bad about a situation and you're just like, she said this, they're going to be all on your side, right? Making you feel better, making them out to be the great guy and everything. But when there becomes conflict between the two of you, your feelings don't matter. They're very cold. They shut down. It's just the lack of an emotional sort of connection, sympathy and empathy towards you. Does that make sense? Also have a grandiose sort of self-importance. So watch out for those. So let's go through one by one. So I talked about lack of empathy. It seems very fake and genuine, right? And especially when they're in front of people, it's like over the top. They seem really kind and friendly, and like they're emotionally connected to people, and everybody seems to like them. But really, when it comes to, again, the relationship between the two of you, and especially in times of conflict, very, very cold, not understanding, lack of empathy. Number 2, and this is a huge one, guys. This is why, again, I tell you to really slow down the dating process when it comes to men and take your time to get to know them on a personal level, because these guys typically love bomb. So they're just gonna be like showing you so much love in the beginning. You're gonna be like swept off your feet. Grandiose, again, demonstrations of love. Flowers, candies, getting your favorite food for you, back massages, running baths for you, telling you they love you, telling you that you mean the world to them, you know, showing so much affection and attention towards you that it almost feels overwhelming, right? So this can be a huge indication and a huge red flag if a man in the early stages of dating, we're talking within 2-3 weeks, starts making big declarations of love. I love you, you're amazing, you know, talking about your future. That is way too soon, and that could be a very huge indication that we have a love bombing situation. Is that making sense, guys? Show me some thumbs up if that's making sense, because really empathy, lack of empathy and love bombing, those have always been, in my experience, my personal experience, the biggest tells. Thank you for the thumbs up, skis. The biggest tells of a narcissist. Huge tells. Let me just take a little swig of my water here. I added Aperol. Do you guys like Aperol? Do you know what I'm talking about when I say Aperol? It's like an alcoholic kind of beverage that's made in Italy. Hey Meredith, you know what I'm talking about, right, girl? Love bombing. Awful. Another way that you can detect that somebody is a narcissist is that they will act differently in public than they do in private. Can you feel me? Can I get an amen? Because you know that the impression that they give to others, hey girl, hey Samantha, oh my God, I have some like oldies in the group here in the chat. All of the above, right, Meredith? All of the above. Tick, 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 right? So we know that they act very differently when they're in private versus public. Public, they are the perfect persona, right? Picture of perfection. Everything has to be perfect. You can't say anything. You can't talk about anything negative. Everything has to be roses. It's all fake, all superficial level fake, right? People don't talk about anything negative. He's just, everything is glorious. It's just over the top, right? And then when it becomes in private between the two of you, all of a sudden he'll be like, why did you say that? Or why did you do this? Or he acts like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. You know what I mean? That quick change. That's a huge indication that there's something not right, because a normal person, a regular person, will have stability. Like there's kind of like a stable, their personality is stable, right? Who they are in private with you is who they are with their family or who they are with their friends. Okay, yeah, they might be a little bit more excited when they see the friends. They might change a little bit in personality, but it's nothing drastic, right? And it's not like they're trying to glorify and make themselves sound good and their achievements are amazing in public, and then in private it's like completely different story, right? If you have any of those, if you're viewing any of those, that should be a huge red flag for you. Fighting in the bedroom and asking me what he wants for dinner a few minutes later in front of family. 100%. 100%. That's exactly it. Just left a man like this a month ago, 5-year relationship. Girl, Heather, I am so sorry. But you know it's for the best, right? And this is how they get you, is they like suck you in, right? They just kind of suck you in and then spit you out. And actually it's you spitting yourself out, really, because they would hold on to you forever, right? We know this for the most part. It's not narcissists who are breaking up the relationships. It's the women who are leaving them behind. And that's the problem, is with all of these kinds of behaviors, some of these bigger behaviors that are more loving, it can be really confusing for people, right? Because they're like, he's such a great person. He cares about me. He tells me he loves me. He gives me flowers. He does all these wonderful things for me. And then he just pulls a rug from under your feet. And it's shocking. It's like a shock to the system. And yes, exactly. They make you feel like it's your fault. And we're going to get to that. 100%. Makes you feel crazy. Because then the gaslighting kicks in, because then you're like, is it me or is it him? Because they always tell you it's your problem, right? So then when you start asking yourself these questions, you start feeling crazy. And that should be included in here, is this crazy feeling that you have, like you can't put it together. Like if somebody confuses you to the level where you don't know if you can even trust yourself, then you know you're in a really bad situation. Can I get an amen? Let me repeat that. So if you feel like you can't even trust yourself and you start having to ask your friends, this happened, like what are your thoughts? Like is this weird? Is this normal? If you start asking yourself that is this normal question and asking your friends and family, like, can you give me feedback here? Like, is this a normal situation? Is this a normal reaction to this situation? Then I would even argue that just questioning yourself on a consistent basis would be a red flag, right? Can I get an amen? Exactly. So I should include that in here. Maybe I'll do that before I send it out. So number 4, we're on to number 4 already. Oversteps boundaries. This is a huge one. It's like boundaries don't exist to them, right? And to be a boundaried person is to be the nicest, most respectful, and authentic person. Because the more you're boundaried, the kinder you are to others and the kinder you are to yourself. First of all, when you're a boundaried person, you're kind to yourself because you're saying, okay, this is the standards within which I operate and I am comfortable. And if you overstep my boundaries and make me feel uncomfortable, you can no longer participate in this bubble, what I call my life, right? But being boundaried is also really kind to the person that you're being boundaried with, because you're literally telling them, here's the fence. And if you step over the fence, you're going to be on my bad side. If you stay on that side of the fence, you're going to stay on my good side. And then it's very clear to the person, okay, to be on their good side, this is what I have to do. This is kindness. This is actually a very kind way to be. And people who are normal will see these boundaries and not feel offended or defensive about those boundaries. They're going to be like, okay, that's your modus operandi. Okay, I get it. That's your MO. That's how you like to work. Perfect. Can you not call me after 10 o'clock? I'm so sorry, honey, but like I go to bed at 10 and I really need my rest. And then he calls you at 11 again. And then he calls you at 12 again. Anytime that they're overstepping your boundaries that you've made very clear, it's a red flag, right? They're saying, I care more about myself than I care about you. That's literally what that's saying, is I don't give an F about what you said or your boundaries. How I feel matters more. And they might say it or they might do it. Either way, terrible red flag. Family asked on if it was really happening because it's behind closed doors. My brother told me I need to do more. Of course. And that's the problem, is that with narcissistic people, they have everybody around them wrapped around their fingers, and their colleagues and their friends and even their family members sometimes don't even understand what's happening. They don't see it. They don't see what's happening behind the scenes because there's such a superficial front that it's really difficult to overcome that. It's really difficult for them to understand. And so when you break up, you become the bad guy. And you will always be the bad guy because you didn't care enough. You didn't do enough. You weren't enough. And you weren't loyal, right? And they all see the grandiose love bombing that they do, right? Because again, usually when they send flowers, it's also to indicate to everybody else how wonderful of a husband or a boyfriend they are, right? They do it more for themselves and making themselves look good than they do it for you, right, Meredith? Exactly. Amen. Can I get an amen? So we know better. So when we see these types of behavior now, we're like, I get it. I get it. And when somebody, a good indication, which again, I can put this in here, but a really good indication is when you start talking to family members and it seems like the family has this person up on a pedestal. Like, I noticed this with my ex, that his family like had him on a pedestal. There was like nothing he could do wrong, right? And so it was really hard for them to understand why I reacted the way I did. And I think some of his friends had an inkling. I think his closest friend had a little bit of an inkling, but he was also a narcissist who treated his wife poorly. So for him, it was like normal, right? And that's the other thing, is usually narcissists tend to stick together because they all have like very big, grandiose personalities, and they will even try to outdo each other, which is ridiculous. But I've noticed they tend to stick together. So in personal lives, they try to find victims or people who would be willing, tend to be empaths, if I'm quite honest. They tend to look for empaths because empaths will question themselves. Empaths would feel connected to people. Empaths care about people, care about helping them. There are so many ways. Does a narcissistic know they are a narcissist? That's a good question. I think some do, some don't. I think some do, and I think the reason why they do is probably because of more education and more knowledge now than we've ever had. Because back in the day when I was with my narcissist, I mean, that wasn't even a thing, right? Like, nobody really talked about narcissism. They would talk about somebody's ego, like he's got a big ego, he's egotistical. But egotistical is very different than narcissism. Why are narcissists so common these days? Well, I think they're being identified more and more, like it's a more commonly known way of being, I think. There you go, Meredith. So my girl, props. Good victims. We make good victims when it comes to that. I think, Brienne, it's a factor of it's become more known what these qualities are. And then why are they narcissistic? Probably because parents were, because it had influence through parenting, through a lack of empathy in parenting, through a sense of entitlement. I really truly believe that it comes from a sense of entitlement when children are younger. This belief that they're perfect little kings and queens, you know, and that they deserve the world and they're wonderful and they can do whatever they want and get whatever they want, and it doesn't matter what other people think or feel. I personally believe that's how it starts, and I think a lot of families who have narcissistic parents, the children end up reflecting and being the same way because they don't know any different. And sometimes it'll be that they reject that way of being, but then they accept that kind of behavior into their life because that's the kind of relationship that they're most comfortable with or have known. Yes, I get that. It was always big ego. And when we were loving, caring, giving chances, try to be understanding, we make perfect victims. 100%. 100%. Because we're also gaslit. And that's something we're going to go through in here as well. So the next one is giving in order to receive. Girls, can I get an amen here? You know what I'm talking about, right? Like, I do the dishes, so now you have to do the dishes. Or like, I cook, so now you clean. But it's like every little thing is like that. Like, everything is calculated. I did this, therefore you need to do this. I was so nice to you, therefore you need to suck my dick. I want this, so you should do that. I gave this to you, so you should do that. Excuse me for the very aggressive comment, but that's the way they are, right? It's like, well, I was nice to you all week. Why aren't you gonna give me some? Because like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, what's wrong with you? Everything is like, give, give, give in order to receive, receive, receive. Like keeping a tally. Does that make sense? So it's not selfless. It's with a purpose, and the purpose is usually manipulation. Right? You feeling me on that? You feel me? I did this, therefore you need to do this. And usually they determine the terms. And they don't tell you ahead of time. I made dinner and I took the kids out to the park and therefore I want to get my sucked. So therefore you must provide, right? Or you argued with me, so now I can't take care of the baby, so you can go to the bathroom. Yeah, for sure. You did this, therefore, for sure. 100%. Right, Lana? I hope I said your name right. Absolutely. They do it as a form of punishment as well. Thank you. Yes, they do, Meredith. And again, tit for tat. Thank you for bringing this up, Meredith, because that is also something that they do, is tit for tat, revenge, right? You ticked me off, therefore you deserve a punishment. You went out with your girlfriends, so guess what? I went out with my guys. And not only did I go out with my guys, but I went to a strip club because fuck you, right? Like that's their personality. You did this, tit for tat, tally, check, check, check. Everything lines up, right? Awful behaviors. So anytime you start seeing that in the beginning, you did this, therefore I need to do that, or I did this, therefore you should do that. Anytime you start seeing that kind of behavior, or even the way that they talk about their relationships with people can be really telling. A lot of women will wait for the situation to happen to themselves, but when you start having conversations with them about their relationships with their friends or family members, they'll actually sort of divulge and things will come to light as they're talking through scenarios. You know, like, my buddy did this, so we did this, or like, I had to do this because they did this. Or you know what, like, I wanted a raise, so I like just did this or whatever because I knew I was gonna get a raise because if I did this, I would, you know what I mean? Like it's really weird. Like they will divulge it. You don't even have to view the actual personality trait coming through. Sometimes they talk through and they tell you exactly how they are in situations. Like I remember specifically when my ex was like bragging that he had manipulated some person into doing whatever they wanted. And he's like, I can manipulate pretty much anybody into doing whatever I want. And I was thinking, well, that's kind of a weird thing to say. Whoa, red flag. Schmack. Red flag. Yes, been separated, and now if he didn't get what he wants the way he wants, he withholds money. There you go. There you go. It's vengeful. Tit for tat. Awful. So the next one. Disregards feelings, right? So they don't even care how you feel. Like, I really don't like it when you do this. Can you please not do that? It hurts my feelings. Nope. Doesn't even care, right? Just complete. And not only that, they will just disregard your feelings by even the way that they speak to you. So like, it doesn't matter. Like, why do you care? You're overreacting. That's a popular one. Have you ever heard that one before? Stop overreacting. Stop getting too emotional. Why are you getting so emotional over this? Like you are some ball of emotion that lacks all sense and logic, right? That he throws something against the wall or he breaks something out of anger. And when you act out of fear or I can't help how you feel. Yes, Renzi, I can't help how you feel. It's not my problem. It's your emotions. I didn't do it. How you feel is your issue. I did not have anything to do with how you felt. 100%. 100%. Another one is, right, Lana? Girl, Renzi hit the nail on the head with that one. Another sign, we're on to number 7 here, dramatic ups and downs. You know what I'm talking about. This is the whole Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde situation where it's like everything can be fucking amazing. You had the best day together. He treated you like gold. You felt so in love with him. Like you just adored him and you were like, oh my God, I love this man. This is the reason why I chose him. So amazing. Then you come home and you turn on the TV, and this is exactly what happened to me one night. Turn on the TV, start watching a movie together, get all nice and cozy and cuddly. He makes popcorn, everything is wonderful. And then there's a girl who's like cheating on her husband and she made some kind of snarky comment and you laugh and you're like, and he's like, did you just fucking laugh? Did you just laugh? Yeah, I laughed. Why did you laugh? You think it's okay that she cheated? Are you a cheater? Do you cheat on me? Do you think that's okay? And it's just like a complete 180 shift of a personality. And you're just completely thrown off, like, what the fuck just happened, right? It's this complete personality shift and change that can happen in an instant, right? Another example is you go outside, and again, this happened to me. I'm outside, everything was great, had a wonderful day, and then in the evening, take my dog out to do her business, and a guy comes by with his dog, and I'm like, oh, that's an interesting looking dog. What is that? What kind of dog is that? Oh, it's a Boxer whatever mix. Oh, cool. Take care. Have a great evening. And then he comes out like, Are you trying to get his number? Was he trying to ask you for your number? Are you trying to cheat on me? Are you trying to look for another lover? Blah, blah, blah. It's like this complete shift in personality. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like just a complete 180. Sorry guys, my little guy, I'm so distracted here, I'm so sorry. My little man, we just put him outside of his crib onto his own bed and he just fell out of bed. And now he's on the floor. So I'm just gonna watch him to make sure he makes his way back into bed. Poor little guy. Okay, he's moving back. Oh wow, yeah. Now you're trying to defend yourself and get called crazy, 100%. Sorry guys, I'm distracted by my little guy here who just... Okay, I think he's gonna go back to bed now. Sorry. Sorry guys. This is what happens when you do lives, right? Kids will fall out of beds. Kids will start crying, and I sincerely apologize. Seb is in bed. He's exhausted. He had a full day of running around errands, and he's exhausted, so he went to bed early. So I'm on baby duty. Anyways, as I was saying, yeah, so it's like this complete 180 shift in personality. Super sweet and then super nasty, right? Like super understanding and like seems to be fine and like showing signs of like emotional connection with you. But then you do the slightest thing wrong and it's just like, bam, you know? Lana, he's okay. He's back in bed. He's half on, half off. But thank you so much. I appreciate it. If he needs me, really, I'll just go run because he's right next to this room. Okay, now let's go on to, one more thing I want to talk about this. You're now accused of being crazy and having to defend yourself, 100%. But not only this, they do like what I call like the love bomb 180. So actually 180 love bombing because it's kind of the other way. So they'll be so nasty to you, right? Like they'll verbally abuse you, sometimes physically abuse you, sexually abuse you, abuse, severe abuse. And then what do they do right after? They realize, oh shit, I just did something really bad, so now I have to like recoup. I have to recoup. So then they send flowers, they give you chocolates, they take you out on a date, they completely love bomb you again. Do you know what I'm talking about? So they do something bad and then they have to make up for it, but usually it's through grandiose like shows, right? Like a show. Like they're putting on a show, like they don't really actually care about your feelings. Do you know what I'm talking about? And it's not an emotionally like, it's not an apology. They don't say sorry. They don't really like, you know what I mean? They just, yeah. And sometimes they will, they'll say like, oh, sorry about it. Like it's nothing. But like a sorry that's like, you know, they dropped a mug on the ground. Like it's nothing. Like the abuse that they just put you through was nothing. Do you know what I'm talking about? Sadly, I never got to that benefit of it. Yeah, so not all, but a lot of people are like that. A lot of narcissists are like that, like this whole switch. Never even thought he was wrong. Awful. Sorry to hear that, Meredith. So number 8. Again, we talked about this already, but they're manipulative, right? And they might even say things like, I can get anybody to do anything, or I did this to so-and-so and I got them to do this, or, you know, I wanted this, so I said this, or whatever. They tell things, they tell stories in a way where you can see that there's manipulation happening, or you'll actually observe it, where somebody will like, he'll kiss ass or he'll say things behind your back, like behind the person's back to you, like this asshole is a piece of shit. And then they'd be like, oh yeah, you wanna buy this from me? Yeah, or like you want me to like do this for you? Yeah, like totally, you can pay me this. Like it's totally bullshit, right? I was getting the I'm sorry weekly, but it means nothing without change behavior. 100% Renzi. 100% girl. So now number 9. This is a good one. Completely fragile sense of self. Insecure. 150% insecure. And that's why you have this like grandiose showing of confidence, right? In front of everybody, they have their shit together. They're so confident, they feel good about themselves. And then behind closed doors, it's a completely different story. And this shows up a lot as like a needing to control you, as a needing to possess you, as jealousy, because they are so insecure and they're so worried that somebody better is going to come along and sweep you off your feet, and that they're going to be replaced. A completely fragile sense of self. That's the best way to put it. Lack of of security in themselves, a lack of confidence, a lack of self-esteem. But again, it's this like public versus private situation, right? Like in public, they seem to have all their shit together and they seem to be the most confident, like amazing people. But behind closed doors, totally different story. And especially in how they act towards you, like that fear of losing you, that jealousy, all of that screams insecurity. Now let's go on to number 10. Oh, this one's a good one. They blame and shame you, right? Everything is your fault and you should feel guilty for everything that happens to you and to that relationship, right? Absolute shit show behind closed doors, 100%. And most of the time, nobody even knows it. Nobody in their world would even believe you because it's so far-fetched, because their public persona is so different than their private that people can't even reconcile the difference. They can't. It's so out of the realm of possibility in their minds. And that's what causes so much pain for the victims when they leave, because they get bad-mouthed and everybody believes them because they're this perfect persona. And so who's the bad guy? You end up being the bad guy. And you have to be okay with it. You have to be okay with it because it happens. It always happens. And you have to be totally fine with it and just move on with your life anyways. So blames and shames, they make you feel guilty. They make you feel culpable for everything that happens to you or in the relationship. It's awful. They will make you second guess yourself. Everything is your fault. It's never their fault. And finally, same sort of concept and same sort of thread here, but they gaslight, right? It's about making you feel crazy. I didn't say that. I never said that. Well, yeah, you did. You just said it 2 seconds ago. I don't know what you're talking about. You're making shit up. Like, what is wrong with you? Like, calm down, calm down. Have you ever heard that one? Calm down. Calm down. You are acting really crazy right now. Why are you acting so like emotional? Whoa, girl. Calm down. Calm down. You're crazy, man. You're acting crazy. What are you talking about? I never ever said that. I would never do that or say that. Are you kidding? Like, are you crazy? No, I would never do that, right? Gaslighting. Always, right? They cause confusion. They make you feel doubtful of yourself. You start asking yourself questions like, or relax. Oh, Brianne, relax. Why are you so worked up? You're overreacting. It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. Have you heard that one? Heard that one 1,000 times. It's not that big a deal. Relax. You're overreacting. Calm down, right? If anybody ever uses those terms, run, just run. I used to get, that's your anxiety talking. Oh my gosh, right? Oh my gosh, terrible. I was just kidding. I love that one. That one's a good one too. I was just kidding, calm down. Like, you know I was joking. I didn't really mean it. Stop overthinking, just relax. Yeah, exactly. So when we deal with narcissists, my biggest recommendation to kind of deal with narcissistic people is leave them. How do you deal with a narcissistic person? You leave them. You leave them. And now, the second part of this training is really going to talk about, okay, what happens in a situation where you can't necessarily leave them or not communicate with them. So I'm talking about co-parenting. I'm talking about even situations where you have parents who are narcissistic, but you still want to keep in touch for your children or for whatever sake, whatever your reasons are. Because listen, some of us do not want to let go, whatever. What if you're stuck co-parenting? Exactly, Meredith. We're going to go through this. So we're talking about those situations where you cannot leave them completely. They are still a part of your life. So how do you deal with that? Okay. The biggest thing is to use the Grayrock Method. And I wrote some notes here. But it's like becoming the most uninteresting person in your responses to them. That's the best way to put it. So you just give unemotional, factual responses and completely ignore any sort of triggers or emotional triggers. Does that make sense? So, and even things like if you're in person with the person, that you avoid eye contact, that you're not connecting in any sort of emotional or like physical way, that you're very disconnected. If they say something like, well, I know you always want to take them on this day, so like whatever, you can have them. Thank you so much. I will pick them up at 9. Not like, no, I never said that, or like, no, I don't want to take them from you because of no, don't argue, you Grayrock. Everything is just cold. You are like a robot. You just respond by facts, right? You just respond through facts and with as little emotion, no emotion as possible, right? Well, you said you were going to do this and blah, 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 and now you're changing the plans and blah, blah, blah. I prepare responses and role play with therapists. That's amazing, Meredith. Whatever you need to do, like I know people who will write out in notes, like they'll write out the response in notes. Take a hot minute, take a beat, make sure that they're not emotionally responding, go back to the notes, edit, whatever they want to do, and then send the response. Whatever works for you, ultimately to keep you in a safe zone, because you can escalate with them, which is not a good thing, especially when you're dealing with children and you're fearful around that, because I know not every narcissist is nice to their children. And honestly, many of them aren't. And even if they're not physically or sexually abusive, they're still emotionally abusive or verbally. And it's hard. It's really hard on children, and it's already hard to be watching that. So the best thing you can do as a co-parent is to make your parenting and your home as wholesome and as normal as possible, right? And quite honestly, when children grow up in two different sort of dynamics, they see and know the difference very quickly, like very quickly. And if anything, they're going to grow to dislike the other parent because they're going to see the normalcy that they have and the steadiness in emotions, in emotional state and emotional support. 100% Meredith, I'm sure. So don't worry about that. So the second thing that I recommend, and another thing, so somebody said like, okay, well, I told them like, I'm just going to stop responding to you, or I'm just going to like, just respond to what did they say? I'm just going to respond so that you understand what I'm saying, and that's it. And I'm going to be cold towards you. Or like they said something like that. And I'm like, no, you never tell somebody that you're using a technique on them, right? So never say like, I'm now gray rocking you. Like that's, that always comes, never tell them what you're doing. Just be that way, and that's it. So number 2 is to create distance, right? So say if you have a parent that's, or even a co-parent, it could still work in a co-parenting situation, create that distance between them. So if you do have to drop off the kids, maybe it could even be your parents that drop off the kids instead of you dropping them off, or, you know, a sister or brother or somebody else that can do be the middleman, so to speak. So create as much space and distance from them as humanly possible and try to reduce the amount of time that you're spending together. And also this helps to prevent you from getting emotionally triggered, right? Because it's already difficult having to co-parent or continue to have a narcissist in your life, especially if they've hurt you in really terrible ways. So it's best to kind of keep that distance and space as much as possible. The third thing, and again, we talked about this in the first section, but it's setting boundaries. So you should be able to just say, listen, I cannot have you message me at this time or text message me a barrage of text messages. I cannot do this. And that's it. You don't say because, you don't have to explain yourself. You just set boundaries for yourself in a very factual, non-emotional way, right? So a good example of this is like, you can't call me and expect me to answer every single time you call. I'm at work. It could be, you cannot assume that I will be spending all the holidays with you. Just because you're my mom doesn't mean that I'm going to spend all my holidays with you. You cannot assume that. You just state facts and you stay very unemotional about it. You're stating a fact and that's it. There's no because or like, what? That's just the way it is. I'm telling you, that's my boundary. That's my standard. Meet it or leave it, right? We're done. And above all, it's just about staying strong. So you cannot let them feel like they're winning or they're getting the best of you. They should just feel like there's nothing, like they've lost it. I've lost it with this person. Like I can't get through to this person. I can't like twist the knife, right? Stay as gray rock as possible. That's the best way to put it. Just gray rock. Just be completely factual and non-emotional with them whatsoever, right? No smiling, no banter, no nothing. It's just very cold and removed. Does that make sense, guys? And these techniques will help to keep you in an emotionally safe space and prevent you from being manipulated or to continue the manipulation of you, right? Does that make sense, guys? Show me some thumbs up skis if that makes sense. Was this helpful? So that's it, guys. This is it. The training is over. The training is over. How do we stop attracting these men? It's not about attracting them. So Meredith, it's what you accept. So I talk a lot about this in my online dating mastery course as well. So like people who say like, oh, I attract all the wrong men. No, you put up with them. It's not about, because you're going to attract good and bad. The problem is that you just let the bad stay in your life, right? Awesome, Renzi. Awesome. I'm happy. And I'm going to actually, right? Okay, good. Awesome, Meredith. I'm happy to hear that. So does that make sense, Meredith? It's not that you're attracting them. It's that you're letting them in. So now, thanks, Lana. I hope I'm saying your name right. Is it Lana? Lana, or Lana? Meredith, is there empath? Is there empath? What do you mean, is there empath? Sorry, I'm not understanding. It's the empath. Yeah, for sure. For sure. But that's it, is that like, yeah, narcissists might be drawn towards you, but it will only happen with time. So they won't know right away if you're an empath, right? It takes time for them to discover, and then they're like, oh, and then you let them in, and then you look at their love bombing and you're like, oh my God, you're so sweet, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, oh, it's working, right? So it's about you letting them in. So when you just create some space, especially in the beginning, and really take some time to get to know the personality behind the person instead of projecting what you envision or what you want onto the person, because we all do it, especially women. We all do it, right? So instead of doing that, take a beat, take your time, get to know them on a personal level, and then make your decision. But trust me, you're going to be attracting tons of good and bad. It's whatever you allow to stay in your life. I'm such a nurturer. I want to help people and be their support system, and I recognize that it can be a flaw. I say too long after I see the red flag. I accept the apology. 100% Renzi. And so this is why I talk about emotion being like a detriment when it comes to dating. You have to be able to say, despite my feelings for you, the way that you are treating me is unacceptable. Unfucking acceptable. Anytime somebody treats you in a relationship in an unacceptable way, it is time to leave, regardless of how much you love somebody, regardless of how much you're going to miss them. No, because you made the decision based on logic that I'm going to be damaged, and this is a damaging person. This person hurts me more than they do good for me. This person does not bring value. I will say, after taking your course, I am much more aware. Awesome, Renzi. I'm happy to hear that. I tried that with my ex, and I was still wrong. You tried what with your ex? Sorry, love, I didn't understand what you meant there. But that's the one thing that we have to do, is we have to be able to remove the emotions from the decisions that we have to make that are right for ourselves. It's okay to love somebody and not be with them. Should I say that again? This is a huge epiphany for a lot of women. It's okay to love somebody and not be with them because you know they're not the right person for you. And the sooner and the faster that you do that, the more you're going to signal to the universe. And I strongly believe in the law of attraction. Don't even get me going on that. I strongly believe that you signal to the universe and to the world and to yourself that, bitch, not this time, not this motherfucking time. Like, no, we're not doing it anymore, right? Like, we're just not doing it anymore. It doesn't matter how much I love you or how much emotion that I've put into you as a person, I'm done with the bullshit. Like, I'm no longer going there, right? So once we get to that emotional space or in that headspace is when things will really shift. So the sooner that you see the red flags and you're able to walk away, because you know what red flags are like, okay, this is just not gonna like, this is just like an annoying behavior versus this is gonna be a detriment to my mental and physical and sexual well-being or whatever it is. This is a detriment to me. I'm out. No matter how nice they were in the beginning, no matter how I feel about them, no matter how much I'm gonna miss all the time that I spent with them, whatever, no matter, you're like, I love you, bro. From a distance, I love you from a distance. No, we're not doing it anymore, right? Can I get an amen, sisters? Can I get an amen? Do you get what I'm saying? So you need to be able to make the decision rather quickly and in the beginning. And that's actually gonna fast track your way to love. We've got this 1,000%. 1,000%, girls. 100%. You guys got this. So release, release, release. As soon as you see any of these red flags and you're like, ooh, this is bad news, release, release, release. Does that make sense, guys? I'm gonna stay on to see if there's any other questions or anything that's coming up. Yes, no more narcissists for me. Awesome, Lana. Happy to hear that. And I think I might run my course again soon. I know we have another wave of women that's inside the course, inside our Facebook group. And awesome, Renzi, cool. And I think I might run it again and give new women the opportunity to join the program. I actually just created my website. Amazing, it only took me like forever. So I actually built my website. It still needs work, but at least most of it's there. And I'm moving my course. Remember, Renzi, how I had my course on the member vault, like in a separate third party. So now I'm moving it into my own Kajabi, into my own center. So once I'm done moving my course over, I'm going to offer it again to the women in the group. So we'll be running it again, Renzi, and you can go through the program yet again. Amen. So on point. Awesome, Meredith. Cool. I'm so happy this was helpful to you guys. And I will put a link in this like video description caption area, and you can actually get, the PDF of all the content that we went through. So you can see it on paper. Cool. I think I justify that when I see red flags that I think, well, they don't check all the narcissist box, so should I? No, I should not. No, exactly. You know that feeling, honestly, when you start having the question and when you start asking your friends a question like, oh, he did this, I'm not sure, like, what do you think? Usually when you start going into that, what do you think? It's like a bad sign. Do you know what I'm saying? Because you're now in a state of questioning yourself. And now when you start doing that, it's like gaslighting, right? It's like you're gaslighting yourself into believing it's not really like this. It's just me. I'm acting out of trauma, or I'm uncomfortable with this because somebody that I didn't like was like this, or no. If you are asking yourself these questions, pay attention. Pay attention, right? Make sense? Cool, Lana. I'll send it through. I'll put the link through. But if there's like one piece of advice I could give is, again, release. Be willing to let go and release people as soon as there's like really big red flags where you're like, no, this cannot move forward. Release, release, release. And you'll find that the dating process will go much more quickly and much more smoothly. And then your path to finding your person, so much faster. Thanks. Happy to be in this group. Awesome. I'm so happy to hear that. I'm so happy to hear that. So take these things into consideration and be willing to ask yourself the hard questions. Am I okay with the way that they're treating me? Am I okay with the way that they react? Am I okay with how they deal with emotions and how they deal with mine, or how they think I should deal with mine? Because if there's anything that's the most important when it comes to compatibility, it's meta emotions. It's how they deal with their own emotions and how they feel others should deal with theirs. and in the space of a relationship as well. Does that make sense? If I believe that how I should deal with emotions is that I should talk through it and tell the person how I feel, and we should communicate to each other, then when I find somebody who has the same sort of way of being when it comes to emotions, there is a compatibility there that is far greater than we both like rock climbing, for example. I always give that example, but you get my point, right? So how you deal with emotions is a greater indication of compatibility than hobbies, than status, than anything. I'm learning how to let go of people or even block them because I'm scared of hurt guys' feelings, and I always end up hurt and uncomfortable. Yeah. So whenever you are favoring another person's comfort instead of your own, that is a huge tell. Like, that is a huge tell. You should never be always uncomfortable in order to make them happy or to make them uncomfortable. If you start feeling more like that, like, oh, I have to do this or I have to act this, or like, this is not, I don't like this, but like, I feel bad, so I'm just going to do it because, you know, no, you should never be putting yourself in an uncomfortable situation or space or feeling in order to make somebody else happy or comfortable themselves. And in fact, somebody who is a good fit for you and somebody who genuinely cares about you will even like put you, they'd be like, oh, like, I hope I'm not making you uncomfortable. Or they would never ask anything of you to make you feel uncomfortable. Right, Renzi? Can I get an amen, right? So if somebody starts acting that way or disregarding how you're feeling by their actions, that's a huge tell. And you should start asking yourself those questions. The more that happens, awesome. So that's a huge kind of like epiphany, right? Is if that's how you feel, then by all means, time to move on, right? Never put somebody else's comfort before your own. Never put somebody else's happiness before your own. Never. And in fact, I always fill my cup before I fill my son's, before I fill Seb's. You can't provide anything from an empty cup. I can't fill any other person's cup without my own first, right? And a good partner will know that as well. So he makes sure, because he knows my role as a mom is incredibly important, especially because Blake is still rather young. Okay, so in his opinion, mama and how mama feels and what mama thinks is right for baby right now is 100% like what needs to happen. So dad, good example of this, dad, we had a crib and the front of the crib could come off, right? To convert into a big boy bed. Mettons. Sorry, I'm speaking French. So like, you get what I'm saying, right? Like it's rather like that. So you just take off the front of the crib and now it's like a big boy bed sort of, okay? I know my son and I know that he rolls around a lot and he would fall out of the bed. I know this about him. And so Seb said, okay, we're going to put like a little mat down and I'm going to sleep next to him the first nap and we're going to see how it goes. And I was like, fine, but like, I really think that we should just put it on the floor. And he's like, okay. Blake falls on him. He's like, okay, I get it. You were totally right. I need to listen to you. He put the mattress on the floor. He's like, no, you were right. You're absolutely right. And if there's anything where I feel extremely strongly like we need to do this for him or this needs to happen, he's like 100% on board. Okay, 100% on board. If somebody really cares about you, they're going to put you above themselves. But he also knows that I do the same thing when it comes to his needs, because my need as a mother is huge right now. And my son takes up a huge part of my life because of the age that he's at right now, because he needs his mama more than he needs his papa. And that's just reality. And when he's older, it's going to be probably different, right? I'm going to be more of like a supportive role and daddy's going to be more of like a primary role, right? But it ebbs and flows. It's give and take. It's not just give, take, right? Should be like, I always talk about relationships, even conversations, as like a tennis match, right? It's like you hit the ball, the other person hits the ball. You hit the ball, the other person hits the ball. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense, guys. Above all, trust yourself and listen to your gut. Communication is the big key for that, 100%. 100%. And it's okay to say, okay, like, I'm not 100% on what you're saying, but like, let's test it out. Or like, I'm gonna listen to what you're gonna say. I'm gonna make sure that it's okay. I'm not sure that he's gonna fall out of the bed, but I'm gonna make sure that it's okay. I'm gonna make sure that I sleep with him to make you comfortable, because you're mama and you're worried about him. And what you feel is real, and what you feel matters. So I'm gonna sleep with him, and I'm gonna sleep right next to the bed so that if he does fall, he'll fall on me. Do you get what I'm saying? So, and he knows that me right now, my cup needs to be full more than anybody's. Like he's made it clear to me, and he's made it clear to me in words, but also in actions. Here's a good example. We both had a really, really rough day. We both had a terrible night, didn't sleep. And who gets the nap? Mama gets the nap. No, you go for a nap. I'll take care of Blake. Okay, but you feel really exhausted right now. You need the sleep. You go. No. Your cup needs to be filled more than mine. He needs you more than he needs me. Go take your rest, and then you'll be better off for him, right? So it's like understanding your role within the relationship and understanding your role in life and situations and caring enough about it. Actions speak louder than words, completely. But Renzi, also don't get it twisted, because I'm going to give a good example of how words and actions can also, if they're in discordance, that it can cause an equally big problem, okay? So here's a really good example. A guy I know always told this, like, for a long time, he always told women, I'm just looking to like hang out, have a good time. I'm not looking for something serious. Perfect. Met a girl, they really connected. He still told her, listen, I don't want anything serious, okay? I'm just telling you straight up, I don't want any serious relationship. Just want to continue dating. I want to continue to have fun. I want it to keep it light. Perfect. She was spending so much, they were spending so much time together. They were like best friends. They had so much fun together. Awesome. Still didn't want a relationship. She moved in with her stuff, still had her apartment, but she moved in with him, brought her stuff, stayed there most of the time, would cook for him, blah, blah, blah. Met his family, met his friends, just from like spending so much time together. After 3 months of this, she goes, so I'm just wondering, like, do you want to make my family? Like where are we at? And he's like, where are we at? Like, what are you talking about? Where are we at? I told you 3 months ago, and I keep saying that I'm not interested in a relationship. And she's like, the fuck? Like, I'm practically moved in. We're living together. And you're telling me that and I met your family and your friends, and they love me. And you're telling me that you don't want a relationship. And he's like, but I told you from the beginning I didn't want a relationship. So you see how it's very confusing for someone, right? Very big ouch. But also, you have to take accountability for listening to when people are telling you about themselves. He told her flat out several times, I am not interested in jumping into a relationship anytime soon. I don't want anything serious anytime soon. And the choices she was making in his head, and I had a conversation with him about it, the choices she was making in his head were her decisions to make, and he did not feel it was his responsibility to stop her from making those decisions, because it was fun for him. And if she was having a good time, and if he was having a good time, then what was the harm? But do you get how that discordance can cause a real huge issue? So even though we say actions speak louder than words, words also speak just as loudly as actions. They have to be in alignment. Ultimately, both are like this. So a lot of people say actions speak louder. No, words are not louder, actions are not. They have to be in accordance with each other. They have to be in alignment. And when they're in alignment is when it's right. Right? Right, Renzi? So it's like, you really have to be careful, because that saying, I hate that saying as a result. Because when I thought about that, I was like, for Christ's sakes, you do understand how that felt like you were leading her on. You do understand that, don't you? And he's like, well, when you put it that way, when I put it that way, do you understand? People don't understand people don't realize the impact that they have on others. And it could be a narcissistic trait. It could be that you just was clueless. Like a lot of people, they feel like if the other person is making the decision to do what they're doing, that they're happy to do it. But a lot of men don't understand that we give of ourselves, and sometimes a resentment is built up. You should never give anything that you are going to resent or regret later. Oh, should I repeat that? Never give of yourself where you are going to regret or resent somebody over that. Never do it, because you know you are doing the wrong thing. You first. That's probably what I'm doing right now. We aren't meeting family or anything, but very boyfriend and girlfriend together. I've decided that he has told me, and if I need more, I have to tell him or leave. 100% Meredith. Right? You feeling that? You feeling those words? This is why I say being a boundaried person is the most loving way to be for yourself and for others. You literally say, this is where the line is drawn in the sand, and this is where it is. So if you want to step over it, we're done. We're done. And it's okay. And it's okay. It's just, we're not meant for each other. Does that make sense? And then you don't build up resentment against them for always overstepping your boundaries without you ever having told them. It's the nicest thing you can do for yourself and for others, is to be a boundaried person. Read Brene Brown. She talks all about this, and it is so spot on. Is that making sense, guys? And by the way, this kind of conversation, this kind of stuff is what I do in my programs. So when you join my online dating mastery course, for example, I go through like every second day we go through a training like this where we talk through specific topics that I have in mind, and I have my notes, and we talk through it and I answer questions, and we go through it together. So this is the type of training that I do in general. But is this making sense, guys? Is this making sense to you, what I'm saying? I hope it's resonating with you. We, as women, give so much of ourselves, and we are like martyrs, right? We are taught, we are ingrained, we are brought up to be martyrs, right? Oh, I did this for them and I did for this. I couldn't even sleep last night because I stayed up all night making cupcakes because their school wanted cupcakes. So I just did. And you know, she wanted her dress sewed, so I stayed up all night doing this. I'm exhausted today, but you know, they feel she has her dress, she's happy, and the school has their cupcakes, right? No. We do. I needed a refresher. Good, Renzi. Harder said than done, but I enjoy our time together. He has told me that it is not a committed relationship, but doesn't see other people. I have to accept that we aren't where I want to be in relationship or leave. 100% Meredith. You need to determine if you're okay with that. You really do. So I can tell you from my personal experience, I went through this with my relationship with Seb. I'm in a part of the country where men don't get married. And it was a tradition for so long to get married because the church forced it on them. The Catholic Church, it was a tradition in the Catholic Church. And then there was this huge societal shift in no marriage. No man my age gets married. No man my age or younger gets married these days in my area. Nobody does. It's rare. If they do, it's because they're immigrants. They moved from another country. They're European. They have different values and culture than the culture that's here. And so in the beginning, when we started dating, I said to him, listen, I'm just going to make one thing perfectly clear. I'm looking for a situation where I get married. Is that something that is open to you? Like, is it something that you're considering? And he goes, yeah. I'm open to it. Okay, great. I started seeing his friends, and I mentioned something to one of the girls that, you know, a guy friend's girlfriend. And she's like, oh yeah, he said that? And I was like, oh, red flag, right? Hi, Maureen. Welcome. So I thought, okay, red flag, right? She's like questioning the fact that he was like, oh yeah, I'm open to marriage. And so we had a conversation about it. And I was like, just letting you know that I'm really serious when I say that I'm looking for a relationship that's going to go in that direction. And so after like 2-3 years, I asked the question, where is this going? Like, are we moving in the marriage direction? Because like, this is concerning to me. And he was like, well, I'm not sure that I ever want to get married. And I was like, excuse me? No, we're not playing this. And so I said, I appreciate the time we spent together. I love you. But at this point in my life, I'm not okay. Hi, girl. I'm not okay with making that compromise. I'm not. Especially if we are going to have children. It's not for me. Okay, perfect. Total meltdown. I can't believe you're leaving me. I can't believe you would do that. Like you were a little multitasking with kids. Yes. So it became a huge issue after the fact because I'd made it clear from the beginning. I told them like, this is where this is my standards. This is what I'm looking for. And if you are not okay with that, then I have to make the decision to move on. I do. And so I understand that feeling, Meredith. I get it 100%. And it took a long time for us to get there. And I had to be willing to be okay with us going at the pace that was comfortable for him. I had to trust that we were going to get there eventually. And it took a lot of compromise between the two of us. So I don't believe that relationships are so cut and dry that I'd be like, you need to leave him, girl. No, you have to do what's right for you. Always do what's right for you. But communication is first and foremost, and compromise. Because ultimately, that's it at the end of the day. That's what relationships are, is compromise, right? Because there's always going to be things that you want that they don't want to give, or things that they want that you don't want to give, or that you will find it difficult to deliver. I think it's a lot to do with his work. He's a police detective. I'm trying to just enjoy the moment. Got you. And again, having those conversations about what it truly is. And do it on a Saturday night when you guys are both chill on the couch and you're just having a good time teasing each other, play wrestling, whatever you do, watching a movie, and just be like, like I would really like to take this to the next level. And I'm just wondering, what it would take for you to get to that headspace too. I'm just curious. And then just open the door to conversation without being like, I want this and you don't, or pointing the finger. Just open the door to conversation. I think that's a really good way to kind of approach it instead of coming out with like guns out, right? Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense, girl. Does anybody have any questions at all about the training or otherwise? I'm here. I'm going to stay on for a couple more minutes. It's 9 o'clock already. Holy Toledo. So it's been like an hour and 15. Can say that again. Say what? You lost me. I like how you worded it. Okay. Yeah. So basically what you say is, like, I'm liking I like the feel of this relationship. I like my time with you. And, I would love to be able to put a label on it because I would be proud to call you my boyfriend. And so I know we've had this discussion. I know you said that you weren't interested in taking things to the next level. And I guess I'm asking myself why that is. Is it something that you feel apprehensive about because of something that I did or said, or maybe how I am as a person? Is it your situation in life? Is there a specific reason? Or maybe it's a feeling? But I'd be curious just to understand where you're coming from there, because like I said, I love this dynamic that we have, and I would love to put a label on it because I think you're swell. Make it a little joke, be kitschy. I think you're swell. I really would like to call you my boyfriend because I think you're swell, right? Like tease, playful. Again, when I talk to my clients, I'm like, it's not what you say, it's how you say it, right? You can say this two ways. You can say, why aren't you calling my girlfriend? I don't understand. I do everything for you. I act like your girlfriend. You treat me like a girlfriend. What the fuck is missing? Why the fuck won't you call me like, seriously, what the fuck is happening here? What the fuck? You can say it that way. Or you can say, I really like my time spent with you. I really love the dynamic of our relationship right now. And I feel very much like your girlfriend. And I would love I would feel honored. I would feel proud to call you my boyfriend. And I'm just wondering how you feel about that, if you'd be cool with it. And if not, you know, how can we get there? Or can we get there? You know, because I think you're swell. I think you're hot stuff. Be silly. Be so disarming. Like when it's, you know, I have a people in the culture, a woman that I work with, and she is like a human resources amazing woman, but she disarms people and gets them to, and so, you know, could be borderline manipulative, but she can get people to open up to her and tell her exactly what their motives are because she's so disarming, because she's so friendly and easygoing, and you just want to confide in her and talk to her about your life and your feelings, and because she disarms you, she makes you just feel open, and she chit-chats with you, she's like kitschy with you, she makes jokes, she opens you up. So you can do the same thing in relationships. Last time I said, what are we? What are you looking for? Are you talking to anyone else? What are you looking for in a relationship? Okay, gotcha. So maybe try again this way. I'm not sure how long ago you had that initial conversation, but that's how I would approach things. Does that make sense, girl? Great examples, thank you. No problem, Maureen. So again, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. It means everything, right? You're gonna catch way more bees with honey. I never understood that saying, because it's like, is it the honey that attracts the bees, or it's more the flowers? You're gonna attract more bees with flowers. That's really what it should be. Good, Meredith, I'm glad. So depending on how soon or how long ago you had that initial conversation with him, you may want to wait a little while. It just depends, entirely up to you. You know better than any of us what that should look like or when you should be having that conversation. But wait until you have a really great evening together, and then you say like, hey, I really like this dynamic. I'd be so proud to call you my boyfriend. I like it, right? We were playful with it last time, but should be more for sure. And sometimes it could take being a little bit more serious. Maybe he thought you were too playful, who knows? But you're gonna, you pretty much know, you can go by how they're reacting to kind of determine whether or not they're taking you seriously. Does that make sense? So you can kind of get a good feel, okay, like, are they taking me seriously enough right now with, you know, how we're communicating? Does that make sense? Does anybody else have any questions before I go? It's getting late for me, for mama. It's getting late for mama. And look how cute baby is. Isn't that cute? Cute baby. Again, he's like half on, half off with his little like pound puppy. Do you remember the pound puppies from the 80s? I always wanted a pound puppy and my parents never got me one. So I got my son a pound puppy. I think I got it more for myself than I did my son, if I'm being honest. But anyways, we won't tell anybody else, okay? You're welcome. Thanks for the love. Thanks for the love, guys. I appreciate it. And yeah, thank you so much for showing up and for chit-chatting with me and sharing your stories and for trusting me with your stories and my advice. And ultimately, always do what's right for you. Always. Right? Love yourself first before you love anybody else. I got my daughter a strawberry shortcake doll. But they changed the way they look. That's the thing that I love about the pound puppies is they're literally the exact same as they were in the 80s. But like strawberry shortcake now is like all different. She looks different, man. She's like 2.0. Same thing with Care Bears. What the hell? I don't like the reboots. Give me the old shit. Give me the old style. I want the original. You know what I mean? I'm too shishy when it comes to my 80s toys. You're welcome so much, Lana. You're welcome. So what I'll do is I'll put a link in this description so that you guys can get the PDF. One has the smell and one doesn't. Oh my God. I remember the old school one from the 80s. You pushed on her stomach and she had a hole in her mouth. And she would blow out those like strawberry kisses, I think they called them on the commercial. But like she smelled like strawberries. And I remember my friend had one and I would like push it all the time so I could smell the strawberry. I loved it. I'm such an 80s baby. Anyways, Thank you so much for this lovely evening, guys. It was so fun to chat with you and get to know you a little bit more. So I'll put the link to this PDF in the description so you can go ahead and download it and share with anybody who you think needs it. Ideally, it would be great if you got them to sign up for my list so I can like provide more help and content for them. But whatever. I won't tell anybody if you share it outside of getting them to sign up, right? It's all about helping people, but it would be nice if you got them to like sign up through the email. It was a pleasure, guys. I hope you have a great evening and we'll talk soon. Bye.